Hello everyone and welcome back to Conversations by the Sea, a podcast about mental health, freelancing and all the other kind of things that in between. My name's Ellen.
I'm Craig.
And we have a stressed guest today, Potter, our oldest greyhound, who is just having some kind of panic attack about, I don't know if it's just because we've just put together these fancy new chairs and we've cleaned the house, and also Craig was doing something in the garden with the lawnmower, and
He's not a big fan of change.
And I think it's just distressed him a lot because he's like, Potter, he's just freaking out.
Come on, son.
So
here he is.
You probably see him if you're watching us on YouTube. You see his little stressed face. He's been panting and stuff. So anyway, how's your week been?
All right, yeah. How's yours been?
Yeah, good. This is episode 8.
Wow.
I know.
Nearly at 10.
8 weeks of pod life. Yeah, I mean, good. Is that all you've got to say?
Yeah, well, it's been a mixed kind of week because I started my ADHD meds.
Oh, yeah. So if you don't know about ADHD, Craig's we've got a whole episode about it. Our first episode of the podcast was specifically about Craig's ADHD.
Good internal links there. Yeah, so I got diagnosed with adult ADHD, and I was given a choice of 2 medications, and I just chose the one that would have the least interference with my antidepressants. Sounds like I'm pure doped up now, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
I guess. Yeah, so I started this week, and the first few days were really rough. I started on Monday, and even I don't know whether it was just the placebo effect or not, but on Tuesday and Wednesday I just felt so tired.
I think any new medication like that affects your mood is going to be a tough a new period of time.
It really zonked me to hell, and I struggled quite bad, but still managed to get work done. And then suddenly on Thursday it sort of just seemed like it cleared up, and I'd been having headaches as well, and then on Thursday it just cleared up, and I felt really good.
And didn't you? And you were concentrating on tasks for longer.
I was wired to do work actually, which was interesting.
One night you worked till 10, which I think was very healthy.
Well, I was enjoying it. I was into the work, and I just wanted to do it. And strange, it's hard to explain because obviously as I come to understand ADHD more, it's hard to explain to someone that doesn't have it, because I always just thought that was just the way my brain was until I realised it was a condition. But usually during a working day, I'm just constantly distracted. Literally every minute or something, I'm looking at something else, or just getting sidetracked or obsessing over something. And it was just it was weird. I still had those distractions, and I still indulged in them a little, but I was much more capable of just thinking, right, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, and also when a task came into your mind, in the past, doing the task, an administrative task or something, would feel like a big hill for you to climb, whereas you were just if it was ringing someone, you were just doing it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's so far so good. I have to the way it works, because it's quite a powerful med, is that you have to review every month with the psychologist. But it's drooling on us because
don't get it on the new chair.
Come on, sunshine. Come on. It's hard to record this because I'm concerned about him, but I know he's just being a drama queen. I think it's because I cut the grass, and he's just started. It's just getting warm enough now for him to start lying out in the grass.
He was trying to sit on the grass, and then you were telling him he needed to get off it, and then he was
he's quite easily spooked. Mm-hmm. But anyway, as I was saying, so I'll review it in a month, and I might end up. I think what they do is that they increase the dose, and then try and find the best sort of dose for you, because what I'm on now, I think, is pretty small, in terms of its effect. So it's interesting because it might even be even better. But I'm glad we started small, because the headaches and stuff the first few days made us almost not want to keep doing it. So yeah, I guess every time we record this podcast, I'll be able to report on how that's going. And if you're worried about if you a lot of people, when we did the first episode, talked about they might have it and they're going to go and get looked at and stuff. So if you're worried about that kind of taking meds, I guess I'm your canary down the mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, how was your week?
Alright, just riding the waves with you and trying to keep you trying to stay as stable as I can, so that you can kind of have your wobbles and stuff, and then just busy week because it's getting to the end of the month and it's always busy at the end of the month. So, but other than that, I haven't really got any complaints. Got some fancy new chairs, which we're happy about. Finally got a work chair.
Hired me mum.
Hired Craig's mum as an admin assistant, so she's starting in 4 weeks. So that's really exciting.
It is, yeah. How did that come about?
Maybe we'll have her as a guest on the podcast one week, and
That'd be
then
hilarious.
and then she can explain it herself. But yeah, just a lot to do with like unhappiness in her current job and bullying and like just general unpleasantness, like what we often talk about, I guess. And Potter's just like drooling everywhere. Yeah, and then we just decided that we needed help on the admin side of things, and who better to hire than keep it in the family, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's nice for us as well because my mum doesn't really have much knowledge in the digital sector, and I know that she'll be able to, she will be able to grasp it. I just don't think she's ever had the right support wherever she's been.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that'll be
get to do some invoices and maybe schedule stuff on Hootsuite and your usual kind of admin tasks.
I think when you get to that age as well, just 57, my mum, I think 58. You start to lose confidence in your skills as well, and that's kind of what's happened to her.
And I also think in the workplace people start to forget about you, and like they can't be asked to teach you new things, and they're like, oh well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, yeah, you're right. So it'll be really nice. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, it's great because I love it a bit, but it's kind of scary, I guess, as business people, because we're still pretty early days in terms of me being part of the business. It's about 6 months now, I think. And obviously hiring someone even for like a day a week means that you have a minimum additional commitment of money you need to earn. So that's a little bit scary, I guess, from my insecurity point of view, but I'm pretty confident that it's just going to incentivize us to work harder and also free up time to pursue more clients anyway. So yeah, that's
been one of the biggest issues, really, especially for me, because of your condition has been you've been struggling a lot with you struggle with administrative tasks and stuff and project management. So just having somebody to sit and go through your day with you and make sure you don't miss anything in your calendar even. So I do that as well. To be fair, I missed a meeting this week that I just completely spaced out on. So you're definitely not alone in that. But yeah, it'd just be good to have somebody to be like looking at our calendars and making cups of tea and stuff. And Potter's no use because he's still having his little panic attack, bless him.
I've just been sitting, he's like standing next to me and I'm just stroking him this whole time, and usually he would have already gotten bored and wandered off, but I think he's just feeling very...
He could sit up on the chair, but
very out of sorts.
I'm not sure. It's probably the new chairs that are freaking him out, to be honest. He's weird about inanimate objects, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was more in the grass. He didn't like it at all.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about this week? Are we going to talk about quitting your job to travel the world?
Yeah.
We haven't got a guest except for Panicky Potter. So unless Potter wants to talk about life as a retired racing dog.
I suppose we could do about adopting a dog, since we've already used up 8 minutes.
8 minutes? Oh God. Go on then. Maybe we'll just keep the quit your job, travel the world thing as like a fabled. Like we'll do it one day.
Well, it's I feel like it'll be our most popular because everyone thinks about doing it, but people also think about adopting a dog. So
yeah, we'll talk the benefits and difficulties and the mental strain, because I think it's a bit of a strange one at the minute because I'm seeing a lot of news and a lot of figures from the likes of Dogs Trust where people have got puppies during lockdown. And then they're like, not everyone who's got puppies during lockdown is doing this. I know a lot of happy puppies. Like, a lot of my friends have got puppies and they're fine. But some people have got them and then they're obviously going back to work and they're not sure what to do with them, or they're realising that certain breeds of dog are much harder to look after than others. And the kind of, the popular breeds at the moment, like the Whippets and stuff, we see Whippets all the time because our dogs are attracted to them with them being from the same family. It's a very different breed of dog, and I couldn't have a dog that was that high energy. Like, it's exhausting. He sat down.
He just whipped me with his tail.
Neither of us grew up with dogs, I guess. I had a dog. My grandparents always had golden retrievers, and that they got from like reputable breeders, and they're really, really. My grand's got one still at the minute called Daisy, and she's lush. But both of us were really wanting to rescue a dog, weren't we?
Yeah, I mean, I was frightened of dogs growing up. Like really frightened.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
I was really frightened of them. I'm not sure why. I think as a kid, I think a dog like jumped up at me once and it like put me off. I was always afraid of them and like preferred cats because like cats also had a like sort of more chill energy. And also my best mate Elliot, his family have always had cats.
Yeah.
So like, and with that, like he's still one of them's still alive now, Missy, and she was so affectionate. She's like a little purr machine. So I always liked them, and the other people in the street that had dogs, like Karen Kate at the bottom had Brax, and he was like a boxer, so he was like full of life and like quite jumpy up. He was lush. I would have loved him now, but as a kid he was a lot. And I was like I've said in the past, I was a tiny kid. Like I was really small, and so dogs always seemed massive.
I used to be really scared when I was little. I used to go, like, I had friends with dogs, and like when you would knock on the friend's door to like play out, and like all the dogs would start barking, and you knew they were going to jump up on you, and like I never liked being jumped up on by a dog. Like back in the day when I was little, it was always quite scary because my grandparents Goldens never did that because Goldens are so ridiculously well behaved dogs. Like they generally don't. The ones that I've encountered anyway are really, really, really good, and they don't do things like jumping up. So it was just kind of a bit of a fear for me. But then when we went to Thailand, we went and visited a cat and dog shelter, which we'll maybe talk about in more detail in the Travelly World episode. But we visited it on Koh Lanta Land Animal Welfare, and then we decided we're gonna go back to Thailand. I decided. Craig just came along for the ride. Didn't really get a choice in the matter. But we knew we were coming back to Thailand after Cambodia and Vietnam. Before Bali, we had 3.5 weeks a month, so we decided to come back and volunteer at the animal shelter. So it was cats and dogs. It was around 50 cats, 50 dogs, and like we're both like okay with dogs by that point, but like it only took 3 days in to being like going from being like love dogs, love seeing other people's pet dogs, to being able to like walk into an area. So they were like all outside. There was like 6 outside areas where all the dogs were, and they were literally in packs. So there was like 6 to 7, 8 maybe max dogs in one area, and there would be an alpha dog, and it was like you would literally be going into the bull pit, like in the bullpen, like there would be snipping you, jumping in you, like aggressive. Some of the more aggressive ones were kept separately. So Craig worked more with the dogs. I worked more with the cats, and I ran the shop and did the tours, but I did do some dog stuff. But Craig, do you want to talk about like what you first couple of days you were going to quit?
It was horrendous. It was a real shock to me, to be honest. Like obviously I liked dogs, or by then.
There's one thing liking dogs, and there's another being in like 35-degree Thai heat, surrounded with buckets of actual dog poo, just like clearing them up, and like just dogs biting you and growling at you, like.
It definitely prepared, like nothing like Potter and Harmony like do now is anything as hard as that was.
Yeah.
So yeah, like well, I mean, we're joining, like obviously when we first got there as well, we got put in this accommodation that was absolutely like it was like a prison. Like as in it, I'm not just exaggerating and like comparing a hostel to a prison or something like that. It actually was a room with 2 like gym mats on a bed frame, 2 like mosquito nets that had like dead cockroaches in.
There was nothing else in the room.
A fan with like exposed electricity and a concrete floor, and to get to it, you had to go through the puppy pen. So which is pretty cute the first time.
At that time, it was the puppy pen, but what we didn't know is that they rotated the dog groups, so it wasn't always going to be the puppy pen.
It would have been the next day. It would have been a different pen. But yeah, so straight away that put us on bad footing because we both kind of felt like failures because we went there and then we sort of toyed with staying in it, but we couldn't have. The toilet was shared as well downstairs, and Ellen has had IBS issues in the past.
Toilet anxiety and stuff. It was not even nobody would want to use that toilet. No, it was just a basin, nothing.
Funnily enough, we had that lived downstairs. I'm not going to name names or anything, but he'd actually had a stay in a prison before, and he said that the accommodation was way worse than the
British. Yeah, he was British. Yeah,
he was a good lad. So yeah, we ended up moving out of there and going to like I can't remember.
We booked it, to cut a long story short, we rang our family and said this is the thing we want to do. We were pretty skint at this point, and they helped us pay, and it was so cheap. It was something like 250 quid for the full month.
Yeah.
And there was aircon, warm water, and then obviously they had a laundry service where you pay by the kilo. So every single day our clothes had to be laundered because the smell, like, because it was so minging at the shelter.
So we went into the shifts after that, and like I said, you know, I like dogs, or maybe I love dogs. Really.
The shift rotation was like 7 a.m. till 1 p.m. or 1 p.m. till 7 p.m. And then also on a rota you would have to do 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. like all night, where you wouldn't actually work. You would just sleep on the gym mat on the bed frame.
I was dreading that from like, because with it like that was scheduled in for me after my first week, like the Tuesday after. And I was dreading it because like you have to stay overnight. You're the only one in there. Like you're worried something's going to happen or whatever.
The dogs are starting to howl, and also the neighbours are like threatening to get the place closed down. So the neighbours hate the dogs,
so they like start like throwing firecrackers and stuff to like make the dogs get angry.
And then you have to go around and go shh,
calm them down, and like squirt water at them if they're going too wild and stuff, which was not nice. But you know, but anyway, like the point I'm trying to get at is that like you really learn like what love of dogs entails when you've like done everything that you have to do at that shelter. So yeah, you know, every day you would like start by scrubbing down the overnight kennels. So you have to clean up all the like leavings and stuff, and like wash them down and put the beddings out for like to air dry and stuff. And then you would do feeding, which was like quite an intense job because obviously you've got all these areas that you have to go down into where there's like 6 dogs to an area or whatever it was. And like you and another volunteer have to take the food down. Someone else prepares it. You have to leash all the dogs up and put them on like posts like to feed individually, otherwise they'll fight each other for their food because basically like they're semi-wild basically.
And there was like certain dogs that had to be fed first. They were like rated by star rating, so 3-star was the loud ones because obviously the more barking, the more neighbours would complain. So the 3 stars, the 2 stars, and the 1 stars. And then also you couldn't walk past. When you were guiding, it's hard to explain what the building's like, but when you're guiding a dog into an area, you couldn't walk past certain dogs or certain kennels.
Yeah, because some of them like hated each other.
Some of them would like, and that was actually what happened to me, where I was like trying to get one of the biggest dogs in the shelter to bed one night, and I was trying to get her into the area, and then these puppies were in the cage behind, and they were barking, and then she barked at she like went to try and get to the puppies, but my leg wasn't. I used my leg, like my leg was in the way, so she just like bit my leg, and I was just like. It was one of the worst pains. Like it was so painful, and then we were like trying to put all the dogs to bed, and I said to the supervisor, like she bit me, and they were like, okay, can you just go get Yak and Sanchez? And I was like,
did
okay.
Absolutely nothing. Like,
yeah, they did nothing about it, and then she got their first aid kit, and I had a little bar of soap in.
Yeah, there was no like there was no disinfectant. Like,
it was so bad.
When I first got bit as well, like 3 days in or something, I got bit by one of the dogs on my hand, and it wasn't a bad bite or anything, but like I did the same. I was like, oh god, like I was naturally like terrified of rabies, but obviously now that like logically they don't have rabies because anytime the dogs get brought in, they're inoculated against everything anyway.
Yeah.
So
and
like,
it's an island.
Yeah,
so.
And it's an island. So these dogs already like couldn't.
And it's like the shelter's attached to a hospital, so it is like well run, even though it's all run by volunteers.
Yeah, I mean the vets and stuff are still qualified vets, but it's just a bit wild, isn't it? So yeah, I got bit because the dog was like in the kennel and he had a toy or something, and I was trying to feed him, and I like leant in to give him something or take something, and he like just like came at me, and I still remember it because he was such a nice like 3-legged fluffy dog, and then all of a sudden he just like launched at us and bit my hand. I was like, oh Jesus Christ. And then that was when I was like I think that was like when I was like, right, I don't want to do this anymore, because there was a Muay Thai gym nearby as well. And I was like, right, I'm just going to not do it. And then Ellen can finish the volunteering for the week, so she wants to do it. And I'll just go and train Muay Thai. But then I was like, by then I'd already started realising how much the dogs needed the help.
It was around the time where they had brought in like 5 puppies and then the puppies started to die one by one, and it was like really traumatic. And just like eventually I think only 3 survived, and 2 of them I know have been adopted to like Finland.
There was more than 5 I got brought in.
Was there? Yeah. I thought there was only 5. But yeah, they kept. So I think that there was that. Anyway, we could end up going to talk about the whole timeline. I will talk about the rest of that. So all it did was for us just
prepare us for dogs.
It established to me that I knew I wanted to rescue a dog, and I knew that rescue dogs came in all different shapes and sizes, and it wasn't just about. Like, we're talking here about like the worst behaviour and most traumatised dogs, because at the end of the day a dog that has bad behaviour is doing it because of a reason, and it's like a trauma thing, and we knew that we had experience, but we knew we were going to rescue a dog, but it didn't mean that we had to get a really aggressive dog, which I think a lot of people are scared of rescuing dogs because they think like, oh, we couldn't have a rescue dog, it doesn't fit with our life. And I'm like, well, actually, I've got friends who, like, you know, I don't know if she's listening, but Lauren Archer, who's a good friend of mine, like PR and marketing person, her dog is a Labradoodle, 16-week-old Labradoodle she adopted. I think she was called Riley. And so you can get rescue puppies. You know, our friends have got puppies from Romania. If you wanted a puppy, for example, you don't have to
there's rescue.
buy them for a breeder. It's not to say that obviously if you bought a dog from a breeder, it's just that like we're very pro adopt a dog and we're very pro rescue. So that's going to come across a bit like that in this podcast. So I also always knew that I wanted a greyhound because I had met them before, and also my mum, when she was a nurse, she also was a nurse until she died. She had told me about a patient that she had who had a couple of greyhounds, and my mum didn't really like dogs, but she loved these greyhounds, and she used to say how lazy they were and and I remember googling them, and actually I was sitting in the office in the worst job I've ever had, and you were down the road at the Team Valley, we were both there, and I googled Northumberland Greyhound Rescue, and like Potter was on the website, and I was like, did you say look at Potter? And then I was like, oh, he's been there ages, and it was 2016, so he will have been 3, and he actually got adopted by another family. So we had looked at Potter already, like just on the website, but we had rented accommodation, and we knew we were gonna go travelling, so we didn't look into getting him. And then when we came back from Australia, and my mum was ill, I was like really obviously a really really bad place, and she was gonna die. And then Potter, and on Facebook there was an urgent appeal, and I still like the Facebook page from 2016. There was an urgent appeal for like Potter, and it was the same Potter. And I scrolled back to the messages, and we've still got the messages. Where his family, who he'd lived with for 2 years, bearing in mind he's lived with us for 2 years next week, just took him back, and we don't know why. He's got foibles, he's got his strange little ways, but nothing that would ever make us give him up. Like he's everything to me. So I was like, this is the dog that I really want, even though we weren't really looking to get a dog at that time.
Yeah. So when Ellen first suggested Potter, I was a bit hesitant because, I always liked greyhounds as well, but I wanted I kind of knew what they were like.
You wanted a dog that could be like a Labrador, like off the lead, always coming
Like,
back.
throw a ball for it and it'll come back to you and all that stuff.
Affectionate.
Yeah, but like, who was I to argue with Ellen when like our mum was ill and stuff?
Yeah, I pretty much played the whole my mum's dying card, and we did. I said I got you to agree to go and meet him. So we drove up to Northumberland Greyhound Rescue, which was at the time up near Cheverton, and I was like, we'll just meet him. And then it was pouring with rain, and greyhounds hate rain, and they let us walk Potter, which was the one that I wanted, and then his kennel mate, just because you go for a walk around the local area just to see how you get on with the dog and stuff. And I was walking Potter, and he was being so annoying. Like, he was like, there was dogs in front of us walking with another group, and he was just like jumping and like trying to like get to them and like twisting his neck. And then Craig was walking this like little black girl called Chick, and she was so good, and like you just became like enamored with her straight away, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you were like, I want Chick, and I was like, but I want Potter. And you were like, Ellen, he's naughty, and he's basically just like a little shit.
I could tell he was going to be a handful, like his whole like body language and the way he was. And
also he'd lived in a home for 2 years, and then on the day we took him back to the kennel, and you can't take them straight away because they have to do a home inspection. So I put him back in his kennel, and the kennel, him and Chick, and he was just crying, and some of the other dogs, he was opposite a really barky dog, so the dog was just barking, and he was just crying, because obviously he's lived in a house for 2 years, well, he'd lived in a pub, I think, for 2 whole years, and then now he's back in the kennel, and the trauma that must come with that. And they had said that he was in quite bad condition when he came in, so his nails hadn't been done, and there's pictures, maybe I'll pop them on the screen, but you can see that he looks older in those pictures than he does now, 2 years on. So we went home. Actually, we drove to the Metro Centre because we were meeting your family for a burger or something, and I was like, please, and you were like, I don't know, if we're gonna get one, why don't we just get Chick? And I was like, oh, but I really want Potter, it has to be Potter. And then the lady Joan came out to view the flat and make sure that where we were living was appropriate. So one of the great things about greyhounds is this whole podcast is gonna be an episode about like an advertorial for Greyhound Rescue. But one of the great things about greyhounds is that they're really good in apartments and flats because they're very lazy dogs, and even though they're big, like by size, they can curl up quite small. So we were living in a flat at the time, and she brought her dogs with her, didn't she?
No, one of
One
them
of them,
massive.
Leroy, he was massive.
He's like the biggest greyhound I've
He's still, I think he's still the
yeah.
biggest greyhound I've ever seen.
And he just like came in and just like lay down on the floor, and I was like stroking them, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, and Susie, the other one, both brindle, just absolutely gorgeous dogs. And then they said, yeah, we're past him, we're fine to get him. And then the next week, basically went to get him, and Craig had his usual wobble before any big life decision, because I tend to be like a very decisive, if not too decisive person. I'm like, let's just do this thing. And same goes for traveling the world and booking the flight to Thailand. And then you go like, oh, I don't know if I'm not ready, and then I just...
Yeah, once Ellen makes her mind up to do something, she can just commit to it and like never look back. But I'm kind of the opposite of that. I always look back, and I'm always like looking around and like, you know, trying to second guess everything.
Getting Potter in April 2019 was like the final nail in the never going back to Australia coffin, because Craig was like, well, you can technically take them there, but greyhounds have a bit of a bad rap over there. I think they have to be muzzled in public, and also he was 5 turning 6 when we got him, so getting older to fly for a really long distance. So I just thought, I think it was and if you've got a dog and you've been through any kind of personal tragedy, the comfort that comes with having a dog is, or a cat, or it doesn't have to be a dog, you know, but the pets bring you this kind of like unconditional love, don't they?
I think yeah, and also the sense of obligation, like to take them out.
Yeah, absolutely. So even like the worst days, the day she died, the day of the funeral, we had to get up that morning, and I had to walk him, or one of us had to walk him. So we had him. He's just gone to sleep now, bless him. So yeah, so he was 5 turning 6 when we got him, and now he's 7 turning 8. We're nearly at 2 years of having him. And then we moved into a house in December 2019. We bought our first home. Obviously, Potter came with us, and then we decided it was time to get Potter a friend, and I decided that I would take a step back on the decision making and let Craig pick the dog, because I think, is it fair to say that he had a bit of what I was joke being this bit postnatal depression, because like, not that we're downplaying that condition, I just mean like Craig didn't bond with Potter as quickly as I did. So for me, it was me and Potter all day every day. I took him to meetings, like I took him everywhere. When I started the business, I worked from the flat because I was just freelancing, whereas you were going to work, coming home, and only seeing him for the evening and the night time, and you loved him a bit, but you didn't have the same bond that you do with him now.
Yeah, well, he's just like I think all dogs have got different personalities, and like Potter can be quite aloof, and like I like a dog to like, obviously love you.
Yeah.
And he does, like he does show loads of signs, but he is a lot more aloof than Harmony. So yeah, I kind of wanted like, like that like loving little like, I mean, I had Chick still stuck in my memory,
Yeah.
I think, and so we went back to the Northumberland Rescue, and we originally it was like 2 other ones in front of the queue for that we're interested in. There was like a little brindle one and a blue one, I think, and then Harmony was like just in the list, but because she was like all black, which I realise now it's a bad thing.
I think it was because of her age as well,
Yeah.
and because she was the other 2 were like basically puppies.
Yeah, they just hadn't.
I mean, she's only 3 now, turning 4, so it's not like she was old. It was just that they had 3 girls. We knew we wanted a girl, and we'll go and walk them. And then when we arrived there, the other 2 had already been reserved. So there was only one of them.
Harmony wasn't even there when we got there to walk to like meet
obviously
her.
We took Potter with us because apparently they said they have to bring Potter because it was really important that he met the dog and bonded with it. Which,
yeah, when you're adopting a second dog, you have to bring your first dog really to like know how it's going to get on.
And Potter understandably freaked the hell out because last time his owners had took him back to the kennels, they left him there after he'd been with his owners for 2 years. So he kind of
wouldn't come over.
He wouldn't walk past the threshold. He was freezing. He was like obviously panicking a lot because he was like, "What on earth am I being brought back again? Like, what have I done wrong?" And we were like, "No, we're coming to pick your sister." And then do you want to talk about?
Well, we ended up walking this giant boy called Dennis, didn't we?
Yeah, he was lush, yeah.
Big tiger boy, but he was like...
Because Harmony wasn't there, she was out on a walk.
He was bigger than Potter. Oh, sorry. Oh, keep yawning. I think it's these meds. Anyway. Yeah, so we were walking Dennis and Potter, and like it was like really trying to race each other, and I was just like, oh, like, like I think even you joked me, like, oh, shall we get Dennis? And I was like, no way, no. And I think this is something as well about like just the way me and Ellen are. Is like Ellen is always like way softer on like boys and stuff, like like boy dogs and like
Yeah.
boy babies and stuff. Whereas I think if I was like picking whether I had a boy or a girl, I'd want to have a girl, and I don't know, I've just got more like I don't know. I suppose it's kind of weird to say, but like daddy's girl like thing.
Well, I think that's what you've ended up with Harmony.
Yeah, and
that
so
bond that you've got with Harmony is
so then
so
we're
strong.
walking. So we're walking this Dennis dog, and we crossed the woman who was walking Harmony, and I was like, oh, is that Harmony? And she was like, yeah, and I was like, oh, could we like can we walk her? And the lady was like, oh yeah, I haven't really there's not.
She
really
had come to meet Harmony as well.
And she was like, oh, there's not really a connection there, so she passed the leader over, and she took Dennis, and Harmony like came straight up to Ellen and like kissed her through the muzzle. So straight away,
She
Ellen
like
was
grazed my chin. She was like, she bounded up to me and like scratched my chin.
it was like Harmony was going, yes, you.
that other woman, and she was like laughing. She was like, oh, I think she's picked, because she was like, oh, she hasn't really shown me much and she hasn't really bonded with me. And I was like, it was so weird that she did that for me, because I was just my usual like, oh, hello. And then we went for a walk, and then Potter at one point was just like, hi. Like, maybe
Yeah, and he put his head on her back.
he like rested her head on his back, yeah.
And I was like, right, yeah, that's fine. And then like we always joke because Ellen was like, you can pick Craig, but then she picked Harmony really. But
I think Harmony picked us.
Yeah, I think Harmony picked us in that like cheesy way. So yeah, that time we were out to take our same day because we'd already passed the tests and everything.
And we had to put Potter in the boot because he wouldn't come into the building to sign the paperwork.
Yeah, so it was in my car that I got rid of as well, but it had like a big boot, but I didn't have like a car harness, so I just had to put them both in the boot together. And obviously I was a bit worried because like they just met and I'm putting them in very close confines for like a 40-minute drive. She was muzzled though. But yeah, we were just like cuddling into each other straight away. And
if you like the thing that's crazy about these two is that obviously Potter's lived in a home for 2 years, got took back and then brought here. So as soon as he arrived in our flat, he was like, oh, a sofa, a bed. Oh, I understand this. He's never had an accident in the house, like except one time where like he was obviously, it was a change in his routine, and like from the day we got him, he was a house trained good boy, and he knew what a home was, and he knew what stairs were.
Other than how to get in the bin.
Yeah, he was pretty smart. No, I meant like I didn't mean that he wasn't a thief. I just meant like he knew about like living with humans, whereas Harmony was fresh off the racetrack. Like we got her in January 2020 and she had raced in October 2019, so she had just finished racing.
When you get a dog straight from the track as well, like a rescue racing greyhound, they've got like particular quirks that are common to them that other dogs don't have. So I guess I'll quickly go through them. Like they generally can't do stairs because they never have to.
They've never been indoors, so they don't know the difference between, because they live in kennels, so they don't know the difference between like indoors, don't we here?
Yeah. Tiger training them can be a little bit hard, but a lot of them can learn quickly, like in a day. Like if you just take them out into your yard, again when we reward them and then
definitely didn't take Harmony a day.
But it took Harmony a while.
Even now, Harmony's perfect if you stick to her routine like glue. If you change anything, she's like, oh, have a wee.
Yeah. But I mean, I love her so much. Like she could do, like it would take some doing, for us to get angry with her. But yeah, and what else? They don't really like to be left alone because they live like greyhounds, racing greyhounds are brought up like with other dogs, so they don't like to be like generally.
And they're handled a lot like by humans. They're like literally hand reared.
They often have prey drive issues with like small animals and cats and small dogs, so you have to muzzle them at first until you get an understanding of the personalities. Some have to be muzzled indefinitely, but like you got to remember, like muzzling a dog isn't actually a cruel thing. It's a good thing because.
As long as it's a comfortable muzzle and stuff, it's better for everyone.
Well, greys are used to wearing them as well because they wear them when they race, so it's no issue for them. I'm trying to think of whether like greyhound specific.
They're not like you can't guarantee you're ever going to get your dog off the leader. So in a on the beach in an enclosed space you're fine because they can't escape. But even when you really feel like you trust the dog, Potter was off the leader for 6 months doing really well until he started to really really push his boundaries and run away. And he ran away. He had one too many times of running away, and now we're just only in closed spaces. Whereas Harmony is pretty good off lead as long as we're in a good environment, and she doesn't have any traffic sense. So like you wouldn't let her off on a park near a road because she would run into the road.
It just varies dog by dog. I think greyhounds are like, you can't really treat them like any other dog in terms of like the way you try and train them and stuff, because they're not. Don't be annoyed if your greyhound can't sit on command and stuff like that.
And it's also not like just so you get if I got Harmony and she'd raced for a year and a half and had 25 races or something, and it's not just those races that have shaped her. It's breeding of generations and generations of racing greyhounds. So the behaviours that we've talked about are like ingrained in their like blood. Like they can't change often. So do you want to talk about what it was like bringing this dog that was pretty much bred to race and had no idea what was going on into a home for the first ever time?
Yeah, I think, well, recently I was on a group and I asked her, like, I found our original trainer and like asked what she was like in kennels, and he said like she was, good with people and always like just didn't really want to race. And it's funny because when she first came into the house, she didn't really know what was going on, but she was keen to be in the house. I think
She's very affectionate.
She was up on the sofa pretty quick.
First day, but we can only tell. Like, we can only really tell because she copied Potter, so if we didn't have Potter, she might have been a bit slower to work out what the hell was going on.
She couldn't do the stairs, so I had to like...
The first thing she did was wee on the rug.
Yeah, she weed on the rug straight away. I came in and weed on... That rug as well had belonged to Ellen's grandma's golden retriever.
So it must have smelled like...
And then for a little while, like every time she weed in the house, it was on that rug, so I had to just get rid of the rug eventually. But in some ways it was good because it meant like she wasn't weeing anywhere else in the house. But yeah, we managed to, teach her that the yard was her space, which is funny because Potter won't wee near the house. He's only just started weeing in the front garden.
Peter won't go in the yard.
But he won't go in the backyard or anything. I think he like tries to keep that clean as his space. But Harmony like knows it's her toilet now. And then really we just sort of cuddled with her and just like, got her used to the routine.
We bathed her, didn't we?
Bathed her and she was really good. Potter can't be in the bath. He like tries to jump out and goes crazy.
He's traumatised
Harmony just stood in the bath and sort of shut down and just let us...
Yeah, it was quite sad actually because she went into like a shutdown where she was like just standing there like awake but like not really reacting.
Just like resigned to her fate.
Yeah.
And
I've got a picture of her just after our first bath. I'll put that on the screen.
And then like at night time, I think night time is the first thing because like, I mean, can you remember what the first night with Potter was like?
Yeah, I took him out at about 2 o'clock in the morning and I walked around the streets because he was like freaking out.
It was so strange because we decided at first I'd thought, I'd sort of grown up around people who treat their dogs like, dogs. So, they had maybe like their own crate in their own space and, you didn't want them in your room at night and stuff. Yeah, they slept in the kitchen. So at first in that flat, I tried to put a bed like for Potter in the kitchen. And like straight away he just came in and like lay on the carpet next to our bed, like because obviously they grow up around dogs and people, so they don't really want to sleep by themselves.
He's not going to want to sleep in a room by himself, yeah.
So,
also we don't really know what his life had been like for 2 years, like he might have slept near a human or we don't know.
So the first night we had Potter, like I remember like trying to sleep but also just having this like
you were like he's gonna like
animal
like face
just staring at us, and I was like, oh god, what if he like... And I couldn't really settle because I was like, well, what if he does something in the night, like what's going on? And then Ellen got up and like walked him around the streets of Whitby Bay at like 2 a.m. so he could like suss it out a bit more. But other than that, he was pretty good. And then Harmony, the first night we had her, we'd like put a little bed out for her because Potter and Harmony sleep on the floor in our bedroom in their own beds. And like we put a little bed out for her, but I just remember like straight away in the middle of the night.
Obviously we had to carry her up the stairs because she couldn't do the stairs yet.
And she just like jumped into our bed.
Yeah.
And like lay in the middle of us both and was just like, hello.
And she just like we'll call her Worm because like she literally just wormed her way up the middle.
And I think we just slept with her like that, like dozing on and off, just like letting her sleep in the bed because obviously she was really confused.
But she was getting out and like walking around the sides and like she still does this now. She like comes up your face when you're asleep.
Puts that little cold sleep on you.
You just hear her go like she's checking you're still alive.
Yeah, but I think from straight away from then I could tell how affectionate she was going to be. She loves being in the bed. She loves being with us.
By the way, she doesn't sleep in the bed now. She sleeps in her own bed, but she gets in first thing in the morning.
I would probably let her sleep in the bed if our bed was slightly bigger. Because she doesn't really fit.
She sleeps in the bed all day, but on the night time she sleeps in her own bed.
Yeah. So I think me and Ellen have just completely given over to dog love, as you can probably tell from how passionate we've been in this discussion. But like our house is like covered in dog hair. No matter how much we hoover it, it'll always be like our bed has got loads of little Harmony hairs on it because she's in it all day.
There's dog toys all over.
And some people wouldn't let that happen, you know, they like put a towel down, so like, but we just don't care. Like,
well, you can put a towel down, but you would dig it up.
And the dogs are just like family, aren't they?
Every day.
They're our family, they're our children. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's the best thing we've ever done. Like,
yeah.
Even traveling in Australia and all that stuff, it pales compared to how much the dogs have given us back. And I would really recommend that anyone looking to rescue looks into getting a greyhound, because all the negatives I hear about them are things that you're so easily disproved, right? So like the first one everyone always goes is like, oh, I don't need a lot of exercise.
No.
They're the laziest dogs in existence. You can walk
20 hours a day.
You can walk them twice a day and like let them toilet in the yard, and the walks don't have to be long, and they're fine. If you let them off in a field, some of them will belt it for a while. Some of them just don't even bother. They'll just like lie down.
See, like Harmony's okay on it, like off the lead, but Potter's not. So it's just
off the lead. You can't really do like off the lead stuff with them.
Spaces
but like if you've got a garden, you can just let them wander that.
Mm-hmm. Actually, and it's also a lot of breeds can't be off. Like we go up to the like different paddocks and different enclosed spaces, and often we'll see other breeds of dog, and they're like, oh yeah, he runs away. And it's not just greyhounds or whippets or sighthounds that run away. A lot of breeds of dogs struggle with recall. People
get put off by how big they are as well, but like, you know, they're just so gentle and they curl up dead small. Like both ours fit on our sofa with us.
Also, obviously we can only speak for our two, but they're absolutely amazing with kids. Like, they love kids. Potter just loves children so much. Harmony, if it's like a loud screaming kid, she'll go upstairs and hide. But Potter's like, Potter would lie on the floor and just like a kid, like poke him in the eyes. Like, he just loves it.
Yeah, he does.
And he's a wag dog.
Oh my God, look how cute
he goes to visit the. We also, during non-COVID times, he's a wag dog where we go and visit the old people at the care home where my mum passed away. So he's a very loving. He's not always massively keen, but he does just stand there and let them stroke him and stuff, and we'll have a chat about him. So, what would you say? I suppose you just talked about some misconceptions about having a greyhound. What would you say is like advice for somebody who's thinking about getting a dog, or maybe thinking about greyhound?
Just, you know, like do your research, chat. I think probably the best thing is to talk to people who have who've done the same thing. You know, like me and Ellen are always open to questions about rescuing racers. Obviously, our experience is probably different to others, but
we've had nothing but positive experience.
Well, we've got two very different types of dog. You know, like Potter is sometimes bad with other dogs. He can't really be off the lead. He's sometimes quite aloof, whereas Harmony's like this dead loving, quiet, like, you know, not very she doesn't really like to play.
She's very shy.
Potter's really good at playing.
Harmony without Potter is like a shadow of herself.
Yeah.
So
like, you know, I think like you got to remember, like, even if you're getting the same breed of dog, dogs have way different personalities.
Yeah, the personalities are so strong.
But overall, they're really chill. I'd super recommend them. But in general as well, if you like looking to adopt a dog, don't be put off if like the first few rescue centres turn you down, because apparently
apparently it's really hard.
A lot of reasons I hear people buy puppies is because they've approached rescues and then being turned down for like silly reasons. But obviously not all rescue centres are the same, and not all have the same stringent criteria. And you know, don't worry about don't let you know, I'd love to rescue one day, but I wanted a dog from being a puppy that was mine. Like, if you get a dog that's 4, 5, 6, 7...
I mean, Harmony was 2.
And you rescue it, and you give it love and affection and the home it needs. It's like you've raised it from a puppy anyway. Yeah. Like, I don't feel like... I'd have liked to have seen Harmony as a pup, or Potter as a pup, but, like, both of them are our dogs, no question. Like, they love us to bits, and we love them, and... Yeah, I mean, I'm getting on a high horse a bit, but rescuing's amazing. It's a great thing to do, and like most of the worries people have are very easy to alleviate.
So let's end on, what's your favourite thing about Potter and Harmony?
The greetings when we come home. Dogs make you feel very special.
I mean, we don't really ever leave them, but like...
The odd times we do, but you know, like if one of us even if one of us goes out and comes back in, the way they go on when you come back, it's just so heartwarming, even if you're having a terrible time.
And we've got a camera in the house as well, and you can watch them, and like they're just waiting for you to come back. Like their whole life, that's the thing about dogs, is like their whole life is you. Even the most aloof dog in the world, like Potter, his whole life is us and Harmony, and he's just waiting for for us to come home, and the unconditional love that you get from them, no matter what your day's been like, or you've said the wrong thing to someone, or you feel like you've done something bad, like they're never judging you. It's like unconditional lack of judgment. They're just like, okay, as long as you feed me and as long as you give me the love and the time and you walk me, then like I'm happy. Unless you maybe potter and you cry all the time, but that's like just his way. Like greyhounds are notoriously vocal. Yeah, so like he does cry a lot. Harmony doesn't really cry very much, but Potter.
Oh, she barked this morning.
She did bark this morning. That was very weird.
I haven't heard that.
The clocks went
forward
last night, so she obviously was a bit confused by what time we woke up and she needed the loo, but good that she told us and didn't just wait in the bedroom.
Definitely. What's your favourite thing?
Oh, just the things that I said there about being unconditional love, companionship, knowing that the dogs had a life I think knowing that they had a life before and that we've like changed their lives and hopefully for the better, and just everything about them both. Like obviously you've probably realised by listening to this that like Potter's very much my dog and Harmony's very much your dog, and I love Harmony a bit and she's just like so cuddly and lovely, but like Potter was the one that was there for me the day my mum died, and he was there. He came to the funeral, the wake, like he's everything to me. So, and he's come to client meetings and he's always there, and so is Harmony. Well, yeah, Harmony's not there now. Harmony's in bed, but
he's like the bond Ellen has with Potter is lovely to see. Like it's
And you and Harm.
Yeah, he's lush.
Harmony.
No.
See if she'll come in.
Harmony.
For the YouTubes.
No, I don't think so.
Nah.
She's comfy.
We just made her up. She's not real.
I just imagine her. I also think like the obligation of getting you out of bed and doing walks and stuff like.
Oh yeah, I suppose from the whole point of this podcast is mental health. From a mental health point of view, how has having the dogs improved your life?
Loads of ways. I mean, like I say, that accountability of like forcing you to get out when you don't really want to.
Yeah.
Is really good because
especially during lockdown, because it would be easy to just stay in the house for weeks and weeks and never go anywhere, but you have to go outside when you've got dogs.
Yeah. And I also like I end up like overthinking things a lot, and I like to try and like imagine like. I don't know if this is scientifically proven or whatever, but people always say like dogs live in the present and they don't really like. Obviously they don't really like think about the future or the past as much. So like I often like feel like I'm worrying about stuff and I like look down at Harmony and she's just chilling and I'm like, it helps put me back into a good mood.
She's not worrying about anything.
Yeah.
Potter is because he's a worry boy. But
it's just nice to look after like living creatures, like give you something back and like it's not like a goldfish where you can like easily.
Don't say
it's still a raw wound for Ellen.
Still a raw wound where I got my goldfish died last year.
But it's like you get like they'll let you know when they need feeding if you forget and stuff like that. Like
you would never forget to feed.
No, I know you would never forget, but like
you couldn't forget to feed.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah,
they're literally staring at you from like now. I don't know. I'm surprised that he's not begging now. He's obviously. I don't think he likes the mic stands and the chairs and stuff. He's freaking, so he's kind of.
But that's what I mean from a mental health perspective. Yeah. Where,
it forces you into a routine.
Yeah. And obviously, just the both will give you. What about you?
Same, the accountability and like responsibility that they give you, knowing that you have to do that. It's like Ricky Gervais in Afterlife, isn't it? Like you know that you have to stay alive for them because you're their whole world. They're a part of your world, no matter, even if it's a big part, but you're their entire world. And I think that's like what's so poignant about it. I guess not sad because it's happy for them that they've got good lives, but then it's sad when you think about the ones that don't. But all the dogs that we worked with in Thailand have been adopted now. So there's they get adopted quite quickly by tourists that go and visit or volunteers take them home and stuff. And a lot of them are in the UK and some are in Finland and Sweden, Germany, places like that, US even. So and the cats, like all the cats and dogs. So that's really nice to see. And there's loads and loads of dogs out there now. Like Dogs Trust said they've got overwhelming number of dogs.
I think there's going to be a huge
I'll
surge.
put some links in the description. There's RSPCA up in Chesley Street. They've got a lot of dogs. Obviously Northumberland Greyhound Rescue. If you go on their website, Potter is the main star on their website because we built the website. And there's also a rescue centre in Durham. So if you're from the northeast, there's plenty of places to look for. And also, what's it called? Tia Rescue, which is a greyhound rescue centre, and they have a lot of dogs in at the moment because they rescued the Sheffield
I
ones.
can't remember, yeah, but
There was 60, I don't know how many there was, but there was a lot of dogs rescued in Sheffield. Berwick has got, that's where Tiggy was, the lurcher that was dying, and now she's good. So I think it's just the stories that and then the transition from when you adopt a dog that's in a bit of bad nick, and then you can just show them by the physical and emotional difference that you make on that creature. It's not the same as, it's not comparable. You've changed that animal's life.
Yeah. How do you think freelancing and owning dogs, how do you think that fits in?
Yeah, I think it's perfect. I think being any kind of pet owner works really well. I know that some people don't have time, even as freelancers, because they've got children. We don't have human children yet, so for us it's they are our children and they're our biggest priority other than running the business. So they get, especially during lockdown, there's not really anything else to be doing than walking them and working. But even when there's not a lockdown, we'll typically go to pubs that are dog friendly. We'll typically go on holiday to the lakes, or we went up to Scotland last year. We'd have been away without them before. We'd put them in a home boarding though. We don't put them in kennels just because of their experience, and we don't want them to be thinking that we've left them. Whereas if they go to home boarding, it's they're just going to visit another family for a bit. But I think if you work for yourself, get a dog. I'm not saying you have to, but
I think
it's
having a normal 9 to 5 is a big barrier for dog ownership.
Yeah, I do feel quite strongly about leaving a dog for really long periods of time. So some people will work 5 or 6 days a week, full days, and they don't have dog walkers. And I think, you are that dog's whole world, and if you're out the house for 8, 9, 10, 11 hours and no one's coming in the middle to walk them.
Yeah, I think if you're going to do that, you have to adopt a really old dog that just needs a chilled out place to be sleeping.
Yeah, but even a really old dog needs the toilet after 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, you're right. No, yeah, you shouldn't do that.
If you've got a neighbour or a family friend who can come in and just give them a bit of affection and walk them around the block, or just let them out into the yard, I think it's a dog's not just there for you when you're on an evening on a weekend when you're not working. A dog exists 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so you have to take into account what they're doing during that time.
Yeah.
And you would think that we went to Wilco this morning and left the dogs for half an hour, and Potter will be probably partially traumatised by that. He has no idea what it's like to be a pet, to be owned by people who actually go somewhere.
He's trying to get comfy. So cute.
So that's kind of it. We've gone on a whole hour long talking about dogs.
Doggos.
And if you don't like dogs, then I'm surprised
You
you've listened this far. Yeah, you probably skipped this episode.
Thanks for listening.
Any update on the merch?
Merch? No, haven't quite cracked that yet.
No, I don't think so. Maybe we'll have little dog bandanas or something.
Is that because Potter's wearing a bandana now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's so cute. He's calmed down now, by the way, everyone.
Yeah, his panic attack was only for the first 20 minutes
Panic
of the
and
podcast.
finished. He's lying in a little, I don't even know how to describe that.
Fetal.
Tiny fetal position where his feet come, his back legs come all the way up to his face.
Oh, he's a good lad. I'm sure I'll sprinkle some pictures of them throughout the podcast, and there's also a video on our old YouTube channel from when we first got the big caterpillar, and when Potter first met the big caterpillar toy. So that's pretty cute. If you want to watch more Potter videos.
Yeah, adopt if you can.
Yeah,
if
adopt
you can't,
if you can.
Don't feel guilty about buying, but it's always good to adopt if you can.
Yeah, that's it from us.
Bye.
Bye.